This film will show you how to teach someone a job face-to-face and one-to-one. It won't show you how to be a professional lecturer in front of a class. It's about being a working manager or supervisor or foreman and having to teach just one person to do a job. It's a highly important skill for two reasons. First, because a company is only as good as the people who work for it, and its product is only as good as the work they do. And that depends on how well they've been taught. And secondly, it's extremely important to you. The higher you get in an organization, the more your effectiveness is going to depend on the people who support you. And that will depend on how effectively they learn what you need them to do. Teaching, that is, helping people to learn, is a skill that all of us need all of our lives. If you really want to instruct anyone professionally, you have to understand two things: motivational technique and instructional technique. That's to say, why people learn and how people learn. Why is more important, so we'll leave that till last. How is more practical, so we'll take it first. How do people learn? Well, in three stages. First, by being given a proper context for what they're learning, by seeing how the part that they have to learn fits into the wider picture. Second, by having it explained bit by bit in small, easy chunks, so they can digest each chunk before they have to tackle the next. And third, by practice, by doing it themselves until you're satisfied that they've got it. Now, we'll be looking at each one of these stages in detail in a couple of minutes, because they dictate the way that you have to teach. But there's one thing that you have to do before you can even start to think about these. And if you don't do it, well, it's pretty obvious. Right. Now, this is... No, let me start right from the beginning. I'm going to show you how to operate this cash register. All right? Come around. Yeah. Now, this register, well, it's made in Japan, and it registers, well, not just cash, actually. It's quite amazing. It records departmental section numbers, merchandise details. It supplies an audit printout. It's got a computerized memory. But that's irrelevant. At the moment, anyway. Actually, though I'm showing you how to operate one of these, I don't really have to tell you how it works, if you see what I mean. That's not necessary, I don't think. I don't think so. Anyway, I mean, we mustn't run before we can walk, eh? Or not yet, anyway. Well, it's probably best if I start right at the beginning by showing you how to enter a transaction, all right? Oh, probably isn't switched on. Right. Oh, must be the security lock. Hang on. No, well, I haven't actually got that key at the moment, but you see the general idea. I mean, you just key in the sums, you see, and you've done cash handling with Mr. Taylor? You haven't seen Mr. Taylor yet? Oh. So nobody's explained cheque and credit card procedures? No, well, actually, it doesn't really matter for this operation, fortunately. Not as such. Well, anyway, actually, I should have checked because, obviously, OK. Right, fine. Any questions? That was the first rule of good teaching being shattered. Preparation. Preparation means asking two questions. What am I going to teach? And whom am I going to teach? Asking what you're going to teach means making a note of all the training points and arranging them in the order that the trainee will find easiest to take in. It also means checking you've got all the equipment you need and that it's in working order. And asking whom you're going to teach means finding out about the trainee. How much do they know already? Ah. Now, have you ever used one of these?
No.
But you've done the induction course?
Oh, yeah.
And cash handling?
Well, not yet.
OK. Similarly, check their familiarity with the terms you're using, or you may baffle them with jargon. Now, each sale needs a departmental dissection number. Do you know what that is?
No.
What do you think it might be?
Well, a code?
Mm-hmm. For each department. Very good. So, 3 is china and glass, 8 is leather, that's here, and 20 is food. Now, that number's printed against each sale there. This is called the audit printout. That's just the sales record that we send up to accounts at the end of the day, so that they can compare the record of money received against goods sold and make sure they tally. The audit printout. Why do you think it's called audit?
So they can check the books are straight?
That's right. Quite right. So that's preparation, the lack of which scuppers more training sessions than any other single fault. So, always prepare what you're teaching by noting your teaching points and putting them in the right sequence, and by preparing any equipment. Then prepare for whom you're teaching, by establishing the trainee's existing knowledge and his level of understanding of technical terms. Okay, so now we can go back to how people learn and start looking at this in detail. There were 3 stages, remember? By being given a proper context for what they're learning, by breaking it up into digestible chunks, and by practicing each chunk. So, we'll start with context. It's one of the easiest stages to miss out on if you know the job backwards yourself.
Morning.
Ah, you must be Graham.
That's right.
Right, I'm Frank. Now, I've got to show you how to strip down this servo housing, right?
Yeah.
Right, I'll show you the job. Now, what you've got to do is hold it like that, right, with a third finger like that, OK? Now, you take the number 6 spanner and you give a half turn to the lower locking nuts. Yeah? Yeah?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Where does this servo mechanism come from?
Oh, from the enrobing machine.
Enrobing?
Yeah, you know, the machine that puts the chocolate on the biscuits. Right? So, you're holding it like that with the third finger there.
Whereabouts
Then
in the machine does it go?
Between the belt drive and the dispensing aperture control. So, you get the screwdriver...
And this regulates the belt drive?
No, it regulates the aperture control. So, you unscrew the base plate.
Why?
Well, if you don't unscrew it, I mean, you can't
No,
get into...
why do you have to regulate the aperture control?
Oh, because if the conveyor belt slows down, then you've got to slow down the chocolate feed rate.
Oh, so
See?
it comes from the enrobing machine. The enrobing machine puts the chocolate coating on the biscuits.
Right.
The feeder of the chocolate has to be able to the speed of the conveyor belt. And this is the serving mechanism that keeps the dispensing aperture in phase of the belt drive.
Yeah, you could put it like that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, what was that about your third finger?
Do you see what I mean by context? If you put what you're telling someone into a wider framework, it makes more sense, and so they understand it better. And therefore, they learn it quicker, and they remember it longer. It's not just an isolated bit of information unrelated to the wider picture. So, start from the wide general picture, and then close in. Here's another example. If an American asks you where Tring is, it wouldn't help much to show him this map. But if you showed him this one, then that would help to put him in the picture. So, giving people a context helps them to understand, to learn, and to remember. And yet another reason why the wider picture is so vital is that if they know where their job fits in, they may be able to work out ways of doing it better. But if they try to do that without understanding the context,
Maths and geometry.
6 passes, eh? Well, a bright lad like you shouldn't have any problem with this. Now, I've prepared everything just as it'll arrive in front of you. I'll just show you how to pack these sterilised bottles, right?
Right.
Just like that. Then you stack the boxes like this.
Don't you get any breakages?
No, not if you pack them properly. There. Of course, you want to get as many boxes into each storage bay as you possibly can. So what's wrong with that? What more general principles of the job should he have explained? In what wider context could he have set the process? And why would it matter anyway? Well, look at this.
Who in God's name stored these boxes like this?
I did, Mr. Brown.
Well, I didn't tell you to stack them like this, did I? I said on their sides.
Yes, but Mr. Brown, if I stack them this way up, we get nearly 100 more in every bay.
Yeah, and if you stack them this way up, the cork dries out, doesn't it? And if the cork dries out, the stuff evaporates. And then what we're left with is rubbish. Useless rubbish. Several £100 worth of useless rubbish. Why didn't you stack them on their sides the way I showed you?
I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, but I didn't realise why they had to be on their sides.
So, never start just by teaching a process. Start with the whole story. Explain why the job has to be done and how it fits into the whole picture. And then, and only then, teach the detailed process the trainee must learn. Show him the whole picture before you turn to the detail in the middle. Then the trainee understands why he's doing things the way he is and whether or not he can use his initiative and vary things a bit. So, how people learn, that's stage 1 in a context. Stage 2 of the 3 stages, break it into digestible chunks, into easy steps. However good the instruction, you can have too much of a good thing.
Now let me explain what you have to do with the invoices that come in. There are 2 kinds of invoices arriving here. Those coming in from outside that you have to send on to the right department, and those coming back from the departments which you then have to file.
I see. 2 kinds of...
Yes. Now, the ones coming in are only sent straight onto a department if they're for less than £250 gross filling, inclusive of VAT. If they are for more, you send them to the Departmental Accounts Office, where they are checked, approved and authorised for payment.
If they're more than £250...
The ones returned from departments are filed in the appropriate section of the invoices paid file for that department. Now, both kinds of invoices are entered in the appropriate page of the daily invoice ledger. Incoming ones are simply listed by their series numbers on receipt, and ones from departments are checked against the invoices register to confirm payment details. If after 2 weeks any are not returned, they should be queried by you, raising a later invoice query, and after 2 more weeks by a late invoice report, which includes the reference number of the late invoice inquiry. Okay? It's funny. They always do that. Was it something I said?
You see? All that instruction was correct and in the right order, but there was just too much to take in at once. So you have to break up what you're teaching into digestible chunks. And before you go on from one chunk to the next, you've got to make sure the first one really has been digested. Now, if it's a conceptual skill, that means asking questions till you're satisfied they've grasped it. If it's a manual skill, it means them practicing it till they've got it right. Which brings us on, rather neatly, to the third and last stage of how. Practice. There's an old proverb: I hear and forget, I see and remember, I do and I understand. So that's how people learn, by doing it themselves. And when you're getting them to do it themselves, there's a 4-part sequence that works best. Remember the children's rhyme? I do it normal, I do it slow, you do it with me, then off you go? Well, just follow that. Take this control panel. The trainee has to learn to perform 9 movements in the right order. I do it normal. So, first, go through it for them at normal speed. I do it slow. Then go through it slowly. You do it with me. Then again, repeat it slowly, but this time with the trainee copying what you do. Then off you go. And finally, let them try the whole thing on their own. So that's the key to the third stage, practice. All right, we've now looked at all 3 stages of how. First, by putting the skill in its context. Second, by breaking it up into digestible chunks. And third, by practicing it. So now we've seen how people learn, we can move on to the second half of the film. Why people learn. Motivational technique. First of all, take a look at these machine operators. Let's consider for a moment what we can learn from them. What motivated them to start trying their hand at these machines? And what keeps them at it? Well, there's only one reason: because they want to. Learning is a purely voluntary activity. But, and this is the crunch, how do you get people to want to learn? Well, you can't answer that question until you realize it's 3 different questions. How do you get them to start? How do you get them to continue? And how do you get them to come back tomorrow? Why did these people start? Well, perhaps it's obvious. He wanted to win some money. But wait a moment. People don't work just for money. Look at her. She's not after cash. She simply wants to wipe out 3 intergalactic fleets and win 10,000 points. And she's prepared to pay money for the privilege. And him, he wants to ring the bell. Not for money, but for a sense of achievement. Perhaps to impress his friends. And him? Well, he's seeing if he can master the machine as well as winning a prize.
They all started because they wanted a reward, a sense of achievement, mastery, improved status, even fun, any of those. And once they'd started, what kept them at it? The encouraging feeling they were getting better, improving. Look at him. He's getting the hang of that machine. She's getting more skilled, 8,500 points this go. He's warming up nicely, and he's gone. Probably didn't feel he was getting anywhere, not improving. That's discouraging. And finally, what will get them to come back tomorrow? The further possibility of reward, certainly, but more than that, the feeling that they've achieved something today and can do so again tomorrow. So let's go over those again. How do you get people to start? By giving them an incentive, not just cash, but status, sense of achievement, whatever. Think of the start of this film.
This film will show you how to teach someone a job face-to-face and one-to-one. It's a highly important skill for two reasons. First, because a company is only as good as the people who work for it, and how good they are depends on how well they've been taught. And secondly, it's extremely important to you, because the higher you get in an organization, the more your effectiveness is going to depend on how well you train the people who support you.
So, at the start, give them an incentive. Tell them what's in it for them if they learn. Fun, money, status, sense of achievement, whatever. Now, once you've got them interested, once you've got them started, you move on to the next stage, during the lesson. And this is where so many people go wrong. Watch this.
Come on, then. Let's see if you can get it right. No mistakes now. Well, come along. I haven't got all day, you know. Oh, I'm supposed to be... Oh, no, that is not right. Oh, dear me. Look, it's perfectly simple. Weren't you listening?
Yes.
Well, why did you get it wrong, then? I mean, it's common sense. A child could do it. You only got two things right before you went completely haywire. All over the place. I mean, you were fiddling about up here, doing things down here, and why did you press the red button? I told you, didn't I? I said, do not press the red button. I said, the only thing to remember about this red button is forget it. Forget all about it. And you pressed it. They all make that mistake. Oh, the people I get sent to teach. Now, where's she gone? She won't be back, you know.
The very worst kind of teacher you can find. Destructive, demoralizing, confusing. No. During a lesson, the trainer must keep encouraging. After all, when somebody starts to learn something, they're a bit nervous about making mistakes, looking foolish in front of a stranger. So you must keep encouraging them, emphasizing what they've done right, not what they got wrong, and providing a friendly, supportive atmosphere where they're not terrified of making a slip.
All right, now you have a go.
Oh.
Okay, then hold it there. No, it was good. It was good. You got the first two bits right. You did that, and then you did that, and then what should you have done?
Green button.
Right. Now, then you go from there to there, and then on to there. Okay?
Okay.
Have another go. Green button. Good. Well done. Do you think you've got it now?
Yeah, I think so.
So, during a lesson, encourage. Come on then, boy. Come on. That's it. Good boy. Good boy. And then, after the lesson...
Well done, Pat. You picked that up very quickly. Good. Now you know the basic routine. All you have to learn is simple repairs and daily maintenance. and then you'll be a fully fledged machinist, and that'll put a bit more in your pay packet. And you'll be very welcome in the machine room, I can tell you. Well done.
So, after the lesson, congratulate. In other words, point out what they've achieved and compliment them on it, and point out what they can hope to achieve in the future. So, to sum up, before they start, give an incentive. During, encourage. And after, reward them by pointing out what they've achieved and what they can hope to achieve next. 3 techniques for making people want to learn. At the very end, you'll probably have some follow-up, something to read, something to practice on, extra training to fix, retests, refresher courses. The trainer's job isn't often over just because the lesson's over. So, let's summarize. First, preparation. Prepare what you are teaching, work out the content and the shape of the lesson, and check any equipment. And prepare for whom you're teaching by finding out their level of knowledge and their understanding of technical terms. Then, how people learn. First, by being given a context, fitting into a wider picture. Second, in easy steps, small digestible chunks. And third, by practice, to confirm they've learned one chunk before going on to the next. And finally, why people learn. By being given an incentive to start, by being encouraged during the lesson, and at the end by being congratulated and reminded of what they've achieved. And that's it, really. Actually, the trouble about a film is that I can't ask you questions and I can't watch you all practice. So I don't know if you've learned anything from this film. But if you have, well done.